here we go. So we've got a producer AI function. And if we look at this, it looks like it's all good to go. I've got all the source code installed here. Now, the only final thing that I'm going to need to do is figure out a way to trigger this. So how do we trigger this function? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to add this trigger right here. And we're going to need to tell it to talk to SQS, right? So that's really the trick here is we're going to tell it to respond to events that appear in SQS. And here we go. Here's the message, SQS. It'll come up, in this case I only have one queue, so it automatically populates. And I can decide how many messages at a time I want it to handle. I'm going to say just one. Just grab one message, and one message will then be processed at a time. And then again, this is the part where the trigger is either enabled or disabled. I could not enable the trigger, and then it would not run, or I can enable the trigger and it'll run and say, create it in a disabled state for testing, or enable the trigger now. So we're gonna go ahead and enable that trigger. And now that it's actually enabled, what's going to happen is if we go back to this queue here, this queue should be getting very large, is that it's going to immediately start operating on this queue and start processing all the messages. And again, what it's going to do is it's going to go step one, grab the message from the queue. Step two, delete it. Step three, go through and grab a web page for that company. Step four, create a data frame from that company data. Step five, go in and call AWS Comprehend. Again, that's the natural language processing library. Then once it goes and it figures out what the sentiment is, it's going to take that sentiment and it's going to process it in S3. So we have a full end-to-end pipeline that's going to process this. So let's go ahead and see here. Look, we can see that it's already processing these messages. So it's going to quickly drain this because it's very asynchronous the way these operations occur. So if I go now to this Lambda function, I should be able to look at monitoring and see what's actually happening and make sure that I can look inside of CloudWatch and verify that it's doing what I expect it to do. So here we go. I've got the this function here, and if I look through here, we can see it's attempting to delete the SQS receipt handle. So it's actually deleting those messages. Again, I could go through here and do subqueries if I wanted to, but it does appear to be working, right? So it's grabbing those messages and processing them. So next what I can do is I can look at the final end result of this. I can go to S3, and if we go to S3, I can look at the bucket that I'm using, which is called Fang, and I should see a timestamp. That's a timestamp. Here we go, Fang sentiment. This timestamp should be a new timestamp here. So let's see here, Fang sentiment is the time of this video being produced. This is a current timestamp. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm going to download it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Cloud9 environment, and I'm going to upload that file into my Cloud9 environment. So I'm going to go here, close all these up here, and say file, upload local file, and I'm going to select a file, Fang sentiment. Here we go. And that will give me that CSV file, and then I can just look at it inside of my interface here. And you can see that it did in fact create a CSV file with these columns. Names is a column, there we go, there's a name, Wikipedia, that's the snippet right here, and then the sentiment is at the very end. You can see that the sentiment here is neutral. So this is the fully working end-to-end pipeline that used all those different steps that we talked about.